I call this town council meeting to order on Monday, August 16, 2021 at 7:05 p.m. Let's please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call, please.
Councillor Adams.
Present.
Councillor Catrona.
Present.
Councillor Daniel.
Present.
Councillor Dow.
Present.
Councillor Jovan.
Present.
Councillor Lazo.
Present.
Councillor Marchetti.
Present.
Councillor Ryan.
Present.
And Councillor Steves.
Present.
At this moment, I'd like to recognize the untimely passing of a person near and dear to us. Mrs. Mary M. McKinnon passed away on July 27, 2021, at the age of 90. She worked at Harrington Hospital for nearly 40 years and was a member of the Harrington Hospital Auxiliary and the Southbridge Women's Club. Mrs. McKinnon was the wife of the late Robert G. McKinnon, who passed away on November 11, 1978, at the age of 47. Mr. McKinnon served this community as chairman of the town council, chairman of the school committee, selectman, counselor, and member of the charter commission. At a town council meeting held on November 27, 1978, a vote was passed for the following resolution to name council chambers the Robert G. McKinnon Council Chambers. Whereas Robert G. McKinnon has been an outstanding citizen of the town of Southbridge, and he has contributed greatly to enriching the quality of life of our town, and whereas his untimely death leaves a void that will not be filled, for he was a person of great character and integrity who gave the fullest measure of himself for the benefit of this town, and whereas we, the members of the Town Council of Southbridge, wish to express our heartfelt love and gratitude for having served with our town chairman, Robert G. McKinnon. Therefore, be it resolved that the Town Council Chambers hereinafter be named the Robert G. McKinnon Council Chambers, and that the name shall be suitably inscribed in a plaque at the main entrance of these chambers, and that all references to these chambers shall include the name of Robert G. McKinnon. And it be further resolved that an appropriate display case be placed in the town hall lobby displaying memorabilia associated with his great service to the town of Southbridge. Mrs. McKinnon was a wonderful lady. I knew her for a long time myself, and I know other people who have also spoken well of her. She definitely was a pleasure to know her. She is a part of Southbridge history, and a part of Southbridge's history that is now past. We mourn the passing of Mrs. McKinnon with a moment of silence. Thank you. Agenda item number 3. Consider and accept the town council meeting minutes of Monday, July 26, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? We have one abstention, Council Lazo, 801. Item number 4, subcommittee reports. General Government, Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We did have a meeting on Monday, August 9th at 6:30. We discussed a number of the items on the agenda tonight, and as they come up, I will give information as then.
Very good. Department of Public Works, Councilor Marchetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a meeting on August 11th, 2021. The agenda items included on tonight's meeting agenda. Agenda item number 17, reappointment of Steve Lazo to the DPW subcommittee. Agenda item number 18, appoint Kevin Splain as a citizen member of the subcommittee. Agenda item number 41, ratify the Reno HVAC and Controls Incorporated contract for HVAC maintenance at town facilities through June 2022. Agenda item number 42, a negative change order for the water main extension to the Berry Corner Road, H-Foot Road, Eleanor Lane project. We also had a roundtable discussion on road improvements and the Main Street reconstruction project, including curbs and lights on Main Street. and I will have more to say about road improvements at Councilors Forum. And finally, we had a discussion about creating a dog park in Southbridge and also the status of the dog kennel. I am planning to schedule another DPW subcommittee meeting next week, so we continue the discussions, and I would like, through you, Mr. Chairman, through the town manager, I would like to invite the Recreation Director to the meeting to discuss the possibility of planning and creating a dog park, and also the police chief to discuss the dog kennel. The meeting is available on Southbridge Cable Access Channel 192, and it's also on the Southbridge Community Television YouTube channel. Thank you, and that's the end of my report.
Thank you very much. Education and Human Services, Councilor Jovan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A meeting of the Ehs Subcommittee was held on August 10th, 2021. Two of the items for the reappointment of citizen members are on the agenda for this evening. Additionally, we took up three points for discussion. One was a letter that was sent to the town council anonymously by a group called the Concerned Parents of Southbridge regarding staffing at the high school, changes at the high school. There was minimal discussion on that topic. However, it was a robust discussion relative to that in our role. Furthermore, we had a discussion about how, through the EHS subcommittee this year, we would be able to tackle the schools and the schools in receivership, and how we could build a dialogue with the school district and the receiver, as well as the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, to develop plans to seek their input as to how we will come out of receivership and what their plan may look like, and how we as a town council, in the limited role that we have to play in that, how we could assist not only the school department, but as well as the school committee in making those changes and develop a time so that we can come out of receivership. I was very grateful at that time that the limited number of school committee members were present at that meeting, so we look forward to continuing that conversation with the school committee. We also talked about the budgetary memo that the receiver had sent to the town council, and further discussion about how we may want to see that look, again, with the role that the town council plays, limited at best, but how we could work to make sure that we have a good product going forward for when we come to budget season. I do anticipate a meeting to be scheduled sometime in the near future. I will be away for the next 2 weeks on vacation, so I'll be sometime after September, Labor Day, to discuss blighted buildings, as well as an issue relative to some trash issues that came from the Vice Chairman of the Board of Health. And that's all I have this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Planning and Development, Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, we had a meeting on the 10th of August. Agenda items number 19, 20, 43 through 48 will be discussed later on this evening. And we've tentatively scheduled another P&D meeting for the 23rd of August. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Protection of Persons and Property, Councilor Lazo.
Mr. Chairman, we had a meeting. We have various items that were voted through, protection of persons and property. We'll be giving recommendations on the agenda items as they came up. No other meeting scheduled. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Item number 5, Chairman's announcements. There was a question by a citizen at the last council meeting about mailing tax payments to a post office box in Worcester. I'd like to respond to that at this time. The post office box is the address for the bank the town uses to deposit the various tax payments we receive from citizens. By submitting the checks directly to the bank, the checks are deposited daily and clear more quickly, addressing concerns many citizens have had about backlogs in the town hall when the collector's office is swamped with large amounts of payments at one time. Any problems that may arise can be resolved more quickly. There is no fee to use the post office box, and there is no cost to the town for the service the bank provides. If any taxpayer feels uncomfortable with this way of paying taxes, the system is not mandatory. Payments may be dropped off in the yellow drop box on the side of Town Hall, or payments may be mailed to the collector's office at 41 Elm Street, or payments may be made in person in the Town Hall, or you may access an online payment service by going to the Town of Southbridge website and clicking the link for making payments. And that's all I have. Item number 6, Town Manager's announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know it's been a little bit of time since we last met. During that time, staff and I have been quite busy with a variety of issues. I've also, during that time, attended quite a few events here in the town, including the Southbridge Business Partnership meeting. I took part, I know Councilor Marquetti did, in the DEP's public comment session on the LNG plant. I continue to talk with the group that is working on that to make sure that we get training for our first responders here in town. Participated with the rededication of the dispatch and the National Night Out with the police department. About a week ago, we did a tour of Green Meadows with Senator Fatman. And as many of you know, we did open the RMV on August 2nd. I did make my way over to meet the staff, the head over there, to try and see if we could get a formal reopening. They were not interested. From higher on up, that's not something they do. There was also a meeting that I participated in with Ms. Dean relative to the folks that are building some of these warehouses over in Charlton to ensure that we have a say in some of the traffic configuration. There's some concern that we may get some spillover traffic in trucks, so we're staying keeping our finger on the pulse of what's going over there. And I do want to apologize. I was out last week. I did put a message in my outbound email, but I neglected to send an email in advance to several council members. Some knew, some did not. I'd like to think I got away, but I did work on a few things. I did, some of the members of the Fire Station Building Committee know I did get out a lot of the RFQs for that particular project. And I had been working with the chief of police before we left. As many of you know, I know it was discussed, the dog kennel. I wound up having conversations with Oxford. We learned simultaneously that Bay Path isn't going to be able to stick by the timeline that they originally suggested during the budget hearings when we spoke to them, as well as Oxford may be looking for us to compensate them for the stays when we utilize their kennels. So I'm working with the chief and our ACO to gather our numbers, and I've had a dialogue already with the TA over in Oxford and looking to what we can do. And I've asked certain staff members and invited Council Chairman Daniel tomorrow to a discussion about the future of the dog kennel and how we should approach it from the town side so we can bring a plan back to this body for discussion. We're also working diligently, the inspections division, I've been helping them utilizing third-party review with Burton Engineering to help the K Street project along, much like we did with the Wells project. Some of the same principles involved. Mr. Relic, who is involved with the Wells Street School, he's involved with the K Street project through Wind Development. So we're working, trying to get that project off the ground with expedited permitting. And lastly, and probably more importantly, we're continuing to monitor the COVID-19 Delta variant that has been taking up a lot of time on the news. We've started having bi-weekly calls with some of the members that were formerly involved in our Emergency Operations Center. We've been involved with discussions with our own health department as well as Harrington Hospital, and there seems to be a concern on how quickly this particular strain transfers from one individual to another. And Mr. Pelletier had informed us earlier today that the Board of Health will be meeting later on this week, and one of the things that they will be looking into is whether or not to have some type of indoor mask requirements. That's starting to happen in communities, and that was the topic, part of the discussion today, given the relative ease in which this transfers from one individual to another. The example that was given today was the earlier strain of COVID. You could be in close proximity and it might take 10 minutes for the virus to transfer. Now it's 10 seconds. It can be very quickly transferred in close proximity. So there's a growing concern that maybe masks should be worn in indoor spaces where people can't social distance. So it's my understanding that that will be taken up this Thursday at our Board of Health. And at this time, I have nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Item number 7, presentation swearing in. I don't believe there are any this evening. Item number 8, citizens forum. Are there any citizens that would like to address the council this evening on any item that is not on the agenda? Any citizens? There being none, let's move on, please. Item number 9, vote to confirm the appointment of Joshua Thomas as full-time firefighter paramedic for the town of Southbridge, pending medical clearance, successful completion of Massachusetts Physical Abilities Test, PAT, and completion of state ethics training.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Chief.
Good evening, members of council, Mr. Manager, and members of the public. In June, a firefighter-paramedic position became vacant within the department. The position was immediately posted. We received 19 applications in that process. Of those, we identified 9 that met the requirements for our process, and 8 were interviewed in a peer interview panel. From that point, 4 were sent to fire and EMS skills evaluation. At that point, 2 were identified as being immediately available and were given administrative interviews. And the candidate here before you, Joshua Thomas, clearly identified himself as the right candidate for Southbridge. Josh is a Mass certified paramedic and is currently a career firefighter paramedic in the town of Southbridge. He holds certifications in firefighter 1-2 through the Call Vol program. He also holds officer certification as well as instructor certification. He will need to attend the Career Recruit Academy as there is a difference with the Call Vol program. His background check is currently being done by the Southbridge Police Department, and his pending appointment would be contingent on a medical physical and passing the PAT. I'd also like to take an opportunity to thank those members that were involved, took an active role in the process for filling the open position quickly, and have Mr. Thomas.
Very good. Councilors? Council Lazo.
Joshua Thompson got a unanimous vote from subcommittee to push forward for confirmation.
Anyone else? Councilor Jove.
Mr. Chairman, through you to the councilors, had an opportunity to speak to Mr. Thomas at the PPP meeting and discuss some of his prior positions and the knowledge of other firefighters that I've had experience within my career as well. He seemed very knowledgeable, and I'm happy to support his appointment as a firefighter paramedic in the town of Southbridge.
Thank you. Anyone else? There being no further discussion, I'm sorry, Mr. Manager.
Just if I may, Mr. Chairman, I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Thomas early on and actually interview him as part of the final interviews with the chief and deputy chief. And he came in highly qualified. He did a fine job, and I am happy to advance his recommendation for appointment.
Very good. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor of the appointment? Anyone opposed? Unanimous of all present.
Does he want to make a speech, Mr. Chairman?
No?
Thank you for your support.
Very good. Item number 10, vote to confirm the appointment of Thomas A. Kumanellis as Police Auxiliary Officer, effective immediately through June 30, 2024, pending completion of the state ethics training.
So move. Second.
Chief.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thomas Kumanellis might be a familiar face and name to our community. He was born and raised. He's a graduate from Southbridge High School. He served 12 years as a Southbridge Police Department police officer from 1996 to 2008. Following his father's footsteps, who's out there, a 25-year vet of the Southbridge Police Department, Arthur Kumanellis. He had big shoes to fill, by the way. In 2009, he decided to take his career down to the Cape, where he served from 2009 to 2020, and 9 of them was as a sergeant in a bigger police department. During the height of the pandemic, he ended up retiring and coming back home, and he actually helped us out a lot with the dispatch. We were kind of short-staffed, and he stepped in and actually took the role as a full-time dispatcher. And as of June 15th, due to the state emergency being lifted, and his pension, his retirement, he's no longer able to work, but he wants to continue helping us out with auxiliary work, which is a non-paid position. However, they fill in for details, which at times, even this week, we have over 500 hours to fill this week. So it's very helpful. It takes a lot of work away from our officers who are already overworked. So I highly recommend him as an auxiliary police officer for this department.
Thank you. Discussion. Council Lazo.
Officer Tommy Kumanellis was unanimously voted on by the subcommittee to go forward for confirmation.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Council Jovan.
No, Council Downs.
Sorry? Oh, Council Dow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. When I came to the United States in 1997, he was officer in Southbridge, and he's one of the good officer I know. So I'm glad to see him back in the community serving, regarding if it's auxiliary or full-time, whatever. I'm glad you're back to your town, man. Welcome home.
Very good. Anyone else? Very good. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Unanimous of all present.
He does have a prepared speech.
I just want to say thank you to the town council, Deputy Chief Dingy, Chief Woodson, for giving me this opportunity. It's been 25 years since I sat right here and got appointed full-time, and I'm glad to be back working as an auxiliary police officer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.
Tommy, welcome back. Coming back to service.
Agenda item 11, vote to accept a donation of $200 received from Mr. and Mrs. John Tumalo to the fire department to be used at the discretion of the fire chief for the department.
Second.
Chief.
We had received a $200 donation, currently held by our executive secretary, and bringing to you being very grateful of the donation.
Very good. Any discussion, councilors? Council Lazo.
Recommendation at PPP was favorable, and I'd just like to thank Mr. and Mrs. John Tumalo for their generosity.
Anyone else? I also echo that. I believe it's very nice that citizens in town are looking to take care of our public safety officers. No further discussion. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item 12, vote to accept the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security Grant Award in the amount of $10,000 available under the Federal Fiscal Year 2019 Byrne JAG Reallocation Grant based on the Southbridge Police Department 2021 Address Verification Program,
So
AVP.
moved.
Second.
Chief.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we got this opportunity to apply for this grant of $10,000. It was a last-minute request from the Sex Offender Registry Notification Act. They offered us $10,000 to follow up on sex offenders' verifications where they live in terms of probation. Just to give you an example, we have over 80 sex offenders in our community. That's more than our 3 neighboring communities combined. Framingham has 84 sex offenders, Southbridge has 80, and they have a 100-man police department, so we need funds like this to keep us afloat, trying to follow up on verifications and things of that nature. It is truly a full-time job, and we spread it pretty thin. So this will be great funds that we use towards locating sex offenders and verifying the address.
Very good. Council Lazo.
The recommendation was favorable from subcommittee. Move forward for confirmation.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Unanimous of all present.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 13, vote to confirm the appointment of Martina Shea as citizen member of the General Government Subcommittee, effective immediately through July 31st, 2022, or until the new member is appointed. Ethics and good standing.
Second.
Very good. Any discussion? Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, this was unanimous of all members voting at the subcommittee. Ms. Shea did abstain for this.
Any further discussion? Councilor Steves.
I just want to say that having worked with Martina on the subcommittee when I was chair, she adds lots of good input for a whole slew of different areas, not just school-related stuff, and I would be glad to see her come back.
Good. Anyone else? Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for you. I want to thank you for keep serving the community. Thank you very much.
Councilor Lazo.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, Martina Shea is what we call the hometown girl. She's born here, raised here, went to Southbridge High, served on the Southbridge School Committee with my mom, currently holds positions. I just think she's a pool of knowledge, and I think her experience at the table is always needed. Martina, thanks for your public service.
Anyone else? Very good. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 14, vote to confirm the appointment of Denise Clements as citizen member of the General Government Subcommittee, effective immediately through July 31st, 2022, or until the new member is appointed, ethics and good standing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, this was also approved unanimously of all members voting, with Ms. Clements abstaining.
Any discussion? Councilor Steves.
I essentially can say the exact same thing I've just said about Martina, about Denise. She's a wealth of knowledge, and she has been a very good member of the subcommittee.
Very good. Anyone else? Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, to you. Same thing. I want to thank Denise Clements for serving the community. On a certain, too many board, never stop. She continues. She doesn't want to. Thanks for her time.
Anyone else? Very good. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item 15, vote to confirm the reappointment of James Dyer as citizen member of the Education and Human Services Subcommittee, effective immediately through July 31st, 2022, or until a new member is appointed. Ethics and good standing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Jovan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the councilors. Mr. Dyer served last year on the EHS subcommittee. He has a lot of experience in different organizations relative to development and with Holy Cross, Woodstock Academy, and now recently with Old Stopbridge Village. He brings a wealth of knowledge to our subcommittee. Look forward to working with Mr. Dyer throughout the next year.
Very good. Anyone else? Very good. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item 16, vote to confirm the appointment of Holly Christo as citizen member of the Education and Human Services Subcommittee, effective immediately through July 31st, 2022, or until a new member is appointed and pending completion of the state ethics training.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Jovan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the councilors, Holly Christo is seeking reappointment to the EHS subcommittee. This individual also brings a wealth of knowledge to our committee and to the town council. She has served on a number of boards in Southbridge, and I fully wish for you to support her reappointment to the board as we move forward this year.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item 17, vote to confirm the appointment of Stephen Lazo as citizen member of the Department of Public Works Subcommittee, effective immediately through July 31st, 2022, or until a new member is appointed and pending completion of the state ethics training.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Marchetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, Mr. Lazo served on the committee last year, and he brings a lot of education, wealth of education about roads and equipment in town. He also served as a Southbridge Town Council member in the past, and also council chairman in the past. The vote was 3-0 with Mr. Lazo abstaining. Thank you.
Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I want to say thank you for Mr. Steve Lazo, because he always show up to the meeting. He's always attend and serve the community. Thank you very much.
Very good. Anyone else? Very good. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item 18, vote to confirm the appointment of Kevin Splain as citizen member of the Department of Public Works Subcommittee, effective immediately through July 31st, 2022, or until a new member is appointed and pending completion of the state ethics training.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Splain is a new member of the committee, and the vote was 4-0 to send it to the full council for final vote. Thank you.
Very good. Anyone else? Very good. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item 19, vote to confirm the appointment of Dolores LaRochelle as citizen member of the Planning and Development Subcommittee, effective immediately through July 31st, 2022, or until a new member is appointed, ethics in good standing.
Second.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I just want to, Dee Dee's been with the Planning and Development for the last couple of years, and she's been, for a resident to step up through all she has gone through. I do appreciate everything that she has done for us, and always consistently there, and very impressive lady. And she's helped me out quite a bit from the Redevelopment Authority all the way until now in the Planning and Development, so I highly recommend her. It was a unanimous vote, 3-0 and 1. She didn't vote for herself, so it was a 3-0 vote. Thank you.
Very good. Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you. Thank you very much for serving the community. Thank you.
Anyone else? Very good. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 20, vote to confirm the appointment of Catherine Bernadone to serve as citizen member of the Planning and Development Subcommittee, effective immediately through July 31, 2022, or until a new member is appointed, ethics in good standing.
So moved. Second.
Very good. Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, Catherine's been great. Last year, she served on the Planning and Development Subcommittee, and I'm obviously recommending her this evening. It was a unanimous vote, 3-0-1. I will say that last year was her first time in municipality government as far as volunteering, and so she learned quite a bit, asked a lot of questions, and made her opinion heard and her vote count. So I highly recommend her for this position. Thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 21, vote to confirm the appointment of Wallace McKenzie as citizen member of the Protection of Persons and Property Subcommittee through July 31st, 2022, or until a new member is appointed and pending completion of the state ethics training.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Lazo.
We had a unanimous vote for Wally McKenzie to be on subcommittee to be confirmed. And I'd just like to add, welcome back. He's a former town councilor who served diligently for the community, and he moved out of the area. And the minute he moved back into the area, he reactivated himself to roll his sleeves up and go back to work for the town of Southbridge. And Wally, welcome aboard, and thank you for your years of service.
Anyone else? Councilor Jovan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, I'd like to just echo what Councilor Lazo said, and even though Wally had left town, he always kept the pulse on what was going on in town and always would have conversations with me throughout the years, and I thanked him for his guidance as I was chairman of the council. I'm glad that he has come back to town and look forward to supporting his appointment.
Anyone else? Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Welcome back. Thank you.
Anyone else? Very good. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Unanimous of all present. Welcome back, Wally. Item number 22, vote to confirm the appointment of Derek Julian, citizen member of the Protection of Persons and Property Subcommittee through July 31, 2022, or until the new member is appointed, ethics and good standing.
So move.
Second.
Councilor Lazo.
Yes, Derek Julian had a unanimous vote for confirmation to go forward to be confirmed by the council, and he served previously, and he's an outstanding member. His attendance is great, and his input is fantastic. We have two great citizen members. Looking forward to working with them.
Very good. Anyone else? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item 23, vote to confirm the appointment of Carol Tanionis to the Council on Aging effective immediately through June 30, 2024, pending completion of the state ethics training.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Jove.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was unanimous by all at the subcommittee level. I can't do Councilor Chairman Daniel gave quite the soliloquy of her qualifications. I won't duplicate them, but he spoke very highly of this candidate and fully support this appointment.
Any discussion? Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you know, most of these that come through for reappointment, my office reaches out to the person seeking reappointment, confirms that they're still interested, does the ethics training. When it is someone who is essentially a new face to Southbridge, someone who I haven't met during the course of attending subcommittee meetings, I reach out, and I did have the opportunity and the honor to speak to Ms. Tanionis. She came up to my office when she submitted the application. I took a few minutes, we sat down and talked about it. She's a lovely woman and expressed a real interest and desire to continue to contribute, and she asked if she could serve here on the Council on Aging. So I just wanted the council to know that we try and make an effort to, especially the new faces, reach out and speak to them. That would be the same with the next couple of people on the list.
Very good. Anyone else? I will abstain from this vote. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? 801.
I was going to put the two hands.
Item number 24, vote to confirm the appointment of Daniel Grabowski to the Southbridge Airport Commission effective immediately through June 30, 2023, due to member resignation and pending completion of state ethics training.
So move.
Second.
Mr. McCall?
Mr. Chairman, through you to the members of the council, we have Mr. Clemens here who can also speak to this, but
my goodness.
I did take the opportunity to have a phone conversation with Mr. Grabowski, and we talked about his prior experience on the Southbridge Airport Commission, the fact that he was a private pilot, and his interest in continuing to work for the community. With that, I'll hand it over to Mr. Clemens.
Very good. Mr. Clements, I didn't see you sneak up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think he said everything. We welcome Dan back. He was a great member of the commission a number of years ago, and due to scheduling, he got off, but we welcome him back. He has a lot of knowledge about the airport and is a private pilot, so we'd like to see him back.
Very good. Ms. Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, just to let you know, Mr. Grabowski was recommended 4-0, unanimous of all present for confirmation.
Any further discussion? Councilor Jove.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to councilors. Mr. Grabowski had approached me last year, towards the end of the term of our last sitting term, about joining the Southbridge Airport Commission, and talked about his passion for flying and the airport and his work with the previous, when he was up there previously. He seems like he's eager to hit the ground running, so I look forward to supporting that appointment.
Councilor Steves.
Yeah, a quick question through you to Rick. So would this fill your commission?
Yes, it will at this point.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Very well. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 25, vote to confirm the appointment of Carla de la Cruz Davila to the Agricultural Commission effective immediately through June 30, 2024, pending completion of the state ethics training.
Second.
Counselor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, this was also a unanimous vote to recommend 4-0. We had some, just reviewing my notes here. Actually, I think, I know I had stated during the meeting, I wish there would have been a little bit more of a filling in of the interest form. For people who apply, it helps all of us when we don't get to see a face and establish a face to a name to know your background and experience. But that, other than that, I know this is something that Councilor Adams talked to at great lengths during the meeting, so I'd cede the floor to him at this point.
Very good. Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, Councilor Ryan is correct. I mean, I wish we would have a little bit more information on a lot of these individuals. But that being said, Carla, I spoke to this past weekend as well to see if there was any disconnect as far as reaching out. And there is no disconnect. Unfortunately, she's on vacation. She's gone, but I was able to email back and forth with her. I did work with her during a food drive. It was months working with her to get this food drive up and running, along with a few other people. She was motivated. She wanted to know how she could serve her community. And I do know the Agricultural Commission was a need as far as members, but one thing she is running over there, once they receive their permit, will be like a food bank with fresh produce and fruits and all that kind of.
Community fridge.
Yeah, so it's a community fridge, a bridge fridge. And there's been a few places that the bridge fridges have been opened through Worcester. They brought it down here to Southbridge that's located over at the RMG facility in the parking lot area. I've had nothing but great things to say about her and her due diligence on making sure these things happen, that we did do and follow up and constantly asking question upon question to make sure she was doing it right and that it went as smoothly as possible to get through the permit process to the food drive that we did a few months ago. So I highly recommend Carla for this position. Thank you.
Very good. Councilor. Mr. McCall, town manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can echo Councilor Adams' comments. I did speak with her in addition to the others. She had indicated her interest in the connection between the AgCom was her interest in the bridge fridge, the community fridge, as well as food insecurity issues, as was alluded to here, and she thought that would be the most worthwhile connection. I did mention to her the date of the subcommittee meeting that she might be able to get online, but obviously she was not available. But we did reach out to her beforehand.
Very good. Any further discussion? Very good. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 26, vote to confirm the reappointment of Natasha Nowick to the Conservation Commission, effective immediately through June 30, 2024. Ethics and good standing.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. Councilor Adams.
But you know what? I'll talk about it at the council's forum on maybe the issue. I'm not sure if this is the right time to, as individuals are trying to get through.
Very good. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 27, vote to confirm the reappointment of Christopher Olivo as firefighter auxiliary for the Southbridge Fire Department, effective immediately through June 30, 2022. Ethics and good standing.
So moved. Second.
Chief.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Olivo has been an active member of the auxiliary department and has come in on his own time from any trainings and assist where he can in the department. We're glad to have him on the department.
Very good. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Unanimous of all present.
Thank you.
Item 28, vote to confirm the reappointment of Leonard Vigno to the Stopbridge Airport Commission, effective immediately through June 30, 2024. Ethics and good standing.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Clements.
To Mr. Chairman, Lenny's been a great member of the board for a number of years, the commission. In fact, he was the previous chairman, and he's helped me through a lot of hurdles trying to get through the FAA and the Mass DOT paperwork. So he's great to have on the board, and I think he wants to stay as a pilot, his plane up at the airport as well. So we'd like to see him back.
Very good. Any other discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Any against? Unanimous of all present. Item 29, vote to confirm the reappointment of Anthony Postali to the Board of Health effective immediately through June 30, 2024. Ethics in good standing.
So moved. Second.
Mr. McCall?
I have no input. I think Mr. Adams, Councilor Adams has.
Okay, Councilor Adams.
So, thank you, Mr. Chair. I know Mr. Postali personally. I'm the one who recommended him to go on the Board of Health originally a few years ago. And he's, every time I've gone to a meeting, and especially lately with some of the building issues, he has made his voice heard and a little calm presence within the Board of Health itself. So he's come around nicely within the Board of Health from, just like many of us, not really understanding our position to feeling very comfortable about the decision he is making for our community. I do highly recommend him. On that note, I would I was going to wait for council's forum, but I do want to say that some of these reappointments that come aboard and all that kind of stuff, I really think they should go through all subcommittees, every single one, the best we can. That way they're vetted, other questions are asked, and then we have a little bit idea who they are when they come to the town council. Thank you.
Councilor Lazo.
Mr. Chairman, just a quick comment. I concur with Councilor Adams. Although we have people serving on boards and they automatically get re-upped, I think going back to subcommittee, we can actually vet them not only on who they are, but how was their performance, was it in the best interest of the issues that we're working on in the town of Southbridge. So I agree with Councilor Adams on this one. Thank you.
Councilor Marchetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any problem with Mr. Postali. I just want to say that I noticed that the Board of Health is missing one member, so I'd like to see if we could probably, if somebody from the community would step forward, put their name in to serve. It's only 4 members, we need 5. Thank you.
Anyone else? Very good. All those in favor? Anyone against? Unanimous of all present. Item number 30, vote to confirm the reappointment of Kevin Christo to the Board of Registrars, effective immediately through June 30, 2023, ethics in good standing.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Okay, councils may recall that this item and the following item, number 31, are being brought forward from a previous council meeting. There was an issue with whether the terms would be staggered or should be staggered, and after conducting conversation with the town clerk, the needed changes were made. Okay, any discussion? Very good. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Unanimous of all present. Item 31, vote to confirm the reappointment of John Slipek to the Board of Registrars, effective immediately through June 30, 2024, ethics in good standing.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank this gentleman and all the volunteers. Just one lump sum. Thank you for spending your time, your busy day with the town and making decisions on a volunteer basis. And without you, the government wouldn't run properly. So just want to thank all of them in one general swoop. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Very good. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Unanimous of all present. Number 32, vote to approve a debt services transfer request from account number 001710-591500, long-term interest, to account number 001710-591000, principal, in the amount of $50,000 due to a clerical error made by the treasurer when entering fiscal year 2022 budget.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, this was unanimous through subcommittee, and I don't know, is Melissa not here? Oh, so yeah, I'll hand it off to the manager to explain it.
Very good. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Zawadzki, our treasurer, cannot be here this evening. I said I would cover. I did watch the General Gov subcommittee meeting, and I did speak to her about this today. This is simply a Scrivener's error. There's no money really changing hands. It was just a matter of the wrong account being listed at the time, and this just corrects that matter.
Very good. Anything further? All those in favor? Very good. Unanimous of all present. Item 33, vote to approve the Treasurer Insurance Department transfer request from account number 094-000-517-000-0300, Workers' Compensation School, to account number 094-000-517-000, Workmen's Compensation, in the amount of $5,241 to cover the town's portion of workers' compensation invoices.
So moved.
Second.
Very good. Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, this was unanimously passed through the subcommittee. I know briefly at the meeting it was mentioned that Melissa explained that it was to cover the additionally high increase was due to the higher rates of workers using the workers' compensation program, and when broken down, it showed it was mainly on the school side, not the town side, that it had the increase, which explained the increase in the rate, which is why they need the coverage. But I'll hand it off to the manager to explain further.
Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, you and the members of the council. My understanding is that we do have to break down the workers' compensation amount between the town and the school for net spending purposes, and that there was monies that were not properly apportioned, so it's being reverted back from the school account to the town account to cover the amount that's owed.
Very good. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous of all present. Item number 34, vote to approve the Treasurer Insurance Department transfer request from account number 600-440-574-000, sewer uninsured backup costs, to account number 600-440-574-100, sewer insurance property liability auto, in the amount of $680 to cover annual sewer insurance invoice.
So moved. Second.
Councilor Ryan.
This was also approved 4-0 unanimously by all the subcommittee, and I'll pass it off to the manager to discuss this in detail.
Mr. McCall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, to cover the cost for this particular uninsured, my understanding is this is coming from a self-insured account where we maintain a certain amount of cash, and that this would be transferred just to cover this increase. And the explanation for part of these is we went out to get our annual insurance coverages, and as Mrs. Zawadzki explained to me, that we anticipated essentially a 9% increase across the board on a lot of our insurances. It's just the apportionment of how they were broken down on some of these accounts, which are the reason for some of these adjustments. So it's not that we're asking for more money, we're readjusting where some of the monies are going to.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous of all present. Item number 35, vote to approve an insurance department transfer request from account number 094-000-574-0000, insurance property liability, to account number 094-000-574-0000-0297, insurance premiums IOD, in the amount of $4,908 to cover insurance invoice for fiscal year '22 IOD injured on duty.
So moved.
Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. This was unanimous of the subcommittee, and I'll let the manager explain.
Mr. McCall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, to you, through you to members of the council. As you know, we do cover or provide insurance for our first responders that are injured on duty in the line of work. And as I indicated before, we budgeted for a certain increase in our overall insurance, and this is just an adjustment to the appropriate line items to make sure that we adjust where the actual numbers were. So we're not asking for any more money, we're just reallocating into the appropriate columns, or line items.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous of all present. Item number 36, vote to approve the town manager's request to transfer from account number 001-111-571100, Town Council Conference and Meetings, to account number 001-111-573000, Town Council dues, in the amount of $19 to cover a shortage in fiscal year '22 dues payment to Massachusetts Municipal Association.
Second.
Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. This was passed unanimously through our subcommittee, and it was a very basic explanation. The cost of our dues went up with MMA, so they went up by $19. We have to pay them that extra $19. That's it.
That's it. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous of all present. Item number 37, vote to accept the U.S. Department of Transportation Federal Aviation Administration 100% federal funding grant offer for the design and construction project at the Southbridge Municipal Airport in the amount of $7,027,024.50, with the town share to be 0%. No parameters have changed. Authorize the town manager to sign all related grant and contract documents.
Second.
Councilor Ryan.
Unanimous of my subcommittee, and I'll let Mr. Clements explain.
Mr. Clements.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're happy to bring this to the board. I mean, with council, with $7 million, with nothing from the town for this particular project. In normal projects with the FAA, the FAA pays 90%, the state pays 5%, and the town pays 5%. So back in February, the town did approve their 5% for this project. And through some of the acts that are going on in Congress, the CARES Act and things like that, the FAA had more funds, and they say they'll take up the town share. So therefore, it's 100% to the town. The state is still kicking in 5% on the project, just to get the numbers correct on that. Basically, what this project will do, we're going to replace over 7,000 feet of taxiway and runway at the airport, basically the whole runway and the system up there. Brand new LED lights on the runway, new landing lights, PAPI lights for landing aircraft, as well as some tree clearing on either end of the runway where there's some tall trees that have to be cut down. On top of that, they're also going to build an access road behind the hangars up there, so that'll give us some other access points for the airport in the future development. So I think this is a great project for the town, and it's going to really make Southbridge a star when it comes to the airports in Massachusetts. After this is completed, we have probably about 8% more asphalt to repair that's over 25 years old, that's cracked, but that's an apron project, and we'll try to bring that to the town as soon as possible to work on that.
Councilor Dyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. So the fund, the town, the 5%, you say you're going to use that? Or
No.
it's coming back to the town?
We'll have to come back for funding, I think, from the subcommittee. It sounds like that money goes back to, it's on another next item, agenda item, that goes back to the town for you as a council to decide what you want to do with it. And we'll come back and we're going to see if we can get some more funding through either the state or federal to keep our share low on that as well. But once that apron section is done, we'll have, an airport that's good for 25 years before repaving. And what that does, it allows us to take the funds. Each year, we are allocated approximately about $150,000 from the federal government that we can use for projects. But since our asphalt and runways were in such bad shape, they would not let us use any of those funds or for anything else. For example, I would like to do hangars, build some more hangars. We couldn't use those funds for hangars until we get the taxiway and runway into shape. So this project takes care of that. It was going to be a three-part project where it was going to be spread over 3 years. And last year, the FAA came to us and said, why don't we put it all together and do it at once? So it was great news to get it done a lot quicker. We expect to start this fall with probably some tree clearing and some small projects, with the majority of the construction taking place as soon as possible in the spring, depending on the weather. If we can start in March, we'll start in March. It is going to shut the airport down to up as much as 90 days to get the taxiway and runways complete.
Thank you.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Mr. Clements, I know you mentioned that this is the second time about the clearing the trees and stuff like that. Is the FAA, is that part of this, or will you guys be out there?
No, we
doing some
do
of that
have
work?
equipment to clear brush, but no, this is the large trees on either end of the runway, and we do have easement signed by all the landowners that we're going to be going onto their property as well. The town owns much of the property. That's all part of this project.
Roger that. Thank you.
Councilor Lazo.
Just a quick comment, Rick, great job to the commission. The federal government, it's all good news. Continue that optimism and that positive charged airport commission, constantly looking to better yourself and never just saying this is enough. We're gonna keep working on being number one. I like that. Congratulations.
Councilor Jovan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Mr. Clements and the group, congratulations on that award and the hard work. I'd also like to thank the council for the support of putting this through, because we did have quite the extensive dialogue about this project, the pros, the cons, about whether we're in the airport business or not. There was some that didn't think that we should push for funding and doing our match. We came up with a creative way to fund that through the town and the airport commission with use of solar money. Now we don't have to use that. So it was a great team effort between the town council, town manager, and the airport commission to get this successfully, and now we have that additional money to go back to the town for other future projects. So again, it was forward thinking, I think, on this council's behalf to make sure that we continue to move forward, and that's a great job, and look forward to future endeavors.
Anyone else? Very good. All those in favor? Unanimous of all present.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Item number 38, vote to approve the transfer amount of $385,000 voted from free cash as the town match for the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, grant for design and construction at the Southbridge Municipal Airport to the Stabilization Fund number 840. No town matches required under the approved FAA grant.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Ryan.
Unanimous through my subcommittee.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Jovan.
Thank you.
Councilor Jovan.
Through you, I would request a roll call vote, given the fact that this was a free cash, stabilization took a roll call. I would recommend a roll call vote to put it back into stabilization.
Thank you. I saw.
I'll defer to
Defer.
Councilor Steve.
Oh, just a quick question through you to the manager. How much would this put in a stabilization?
So I was going to try and address that, so thank you for the question, Councilor Steves. Through you, Mr. Chairman. My understanding is it would put that $385,000 back into the stabilization fund. I don't have a balance of what the stabilization would be at the moment, but what I would say is that if we didn't do this, that it would remain in until the free cash is certified, so it would be encumbered. So the strategic value of doing this is you put it in stabilization, and with a 2/3 vote, you could take it and use it for something else if you so choose. Otherwise, it's encumbered until we close our books for the year and free cash is certified at a later date. So that would be the advantage of what we're doing this evening.
Very good. Anyone else? Roll call. I'm sorry. Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Right, to answer Councilor Steves, I believe there's over $4 million in stabilization money right now. Not off the top of my head, but I think it's creeping up to closer to 5.
Councilor Jovan.
Yeah, I echo Councilor Adams' point. I believe the last tally was 4.2 million, so we would have 4.5 million, which is quite the healthy balance in our stabilization and reserve funds.
Very good. Roll call.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
And Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Very good. 9-0. Motion passes. Item number 39, vote to approve a Water Department transfer request from account number 610-450-583-000-91250, Water Reserve account, to account number 610-450-538-900, Water Management Fee, in the amount of $18,158 to cover the cost of the new annual contract for operations of the water system.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, this was unanimous through my subcommittee, and I'll hand it off to Heather.
There she is. Ms. Blakely.
Good evening, councilors. So I know we spoke about this at the subcommittee meeting, and we're doing the transfer so that when we vote the contract, we already have the funds available. So this is the additional funds to cover the Whitewater contract for this year, FY22, going forward, which we'll be voting on in the next item.
Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I got a question I'd like to understand. How come it went to different subcommittee from the DPW? Isn't it that water and sewer and a couple of items didn't go to the DPW, went to different board? I just want to understand why that
It's
going
my-
to a different
it's
way. If
my-
we're the DPW, we,
It's my understanding that because this is a contract, a direct contract, it goes to general government.
This has been the standard practice for
Thank
a while.
Okay. Any other discussion? Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. I have no idea why this goes to another committee either. I really have no complaints about it as long as it gets done. It's not a big deal to me, but maybe it should go through DPW. I mean, I will yield to Councilor Lazo. He seems to know more about this than I do.
I personally think it should go to DPW also. I was at the meeting, I saw everything went on, they did a good job on it. Usually, it was subject matter, not contract matter, determined where the contract went, but it's a flavor thing. It's not wrong to go to general government, it's what the council wants to do. Personally, I think when you have an issue and you're going to talk about DPW input on the contract, you might want it to be at DPW. If it's strictly logistics, then right away general government. Or, but again, it's a flavor thing. It's not written anywhere where it's mandatory to go to one or the other. I just think that when the council sits down, if you feel comfortable with what's going on, fine. If you don't, we can change it as a council. We can talk to the chairman and work on it. It's really not a tug of war over that.
Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Like I said, I got the agenda for DPW, and these weren't on there, so I had no idea that we were doing this until it was on the general government. I really have no complaint about it going on general government. As long as something gets done, that's okay with me, but maybe it should go on DPW. I will concede that point. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Councilor Lazo.
Just a quick comment. Over the whole year, you work on all the issues that are in this contract.
Right.
I'm going to give you a simplistic description. All the water and sewer that you deal with, the piping, the hands-on, boots-on-the-ground guys that are working on this stuff. Why wouldn't the contract go to that subcommittee? It's a theory, and I personally think it belongs there, but you worked on all the nuts and bolts inside this contract, and it went to general government, which, again, I feel the other way, but it's a flavor.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you, not to go too far off what the agenda item we're voting on right now is, but I recommend maybe to the chair that maybe General Gov take a look at rules and regulations and try to work something out and have an argument about it, because I do agree, P&D does contracts, and host agreements and stuff like that, and it could go to general gov or whatever it may be. So maybe the general gov can take that up. This is a recommendation from me. Thank you.
Already made notes. Anyone else?
One
Councilor
quick
Watson.
comment. I know in past years, we've had joint meetings with two subcommittees together. I don't know if that is under this new design of the council, but back in the day when there were two issues that would collide, we would have both subcommittees together at it. So I mean, again, what's the flavor of the council?
Mr. Chairman?
Councilor Joe.
Yeah, and I don't want to get off topic, but just to that point while we're here. I believe that was a council of 13, so therefore if you had
Right.
that group, you wouldn't violate open meeting law by having a quorum and implicit acceptance of a contract. We are now a council of 9, so if you had a joint, you had a majority of the councils present, therefore you may have a potential issue with implicit acceptance of a contract that was not brought to full council. So that may be surmised,
Right.
but I welcome that conversation in general government.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous of all present. Item number 40, vote to ratify the contract between the town of Southbridge and Whitewater, Inc. for contract operation of the town's water system in the amount of $1,418,158 for fiscal year '22, funded from account number 610-450-538-900, management fee.
So move.
Second.
Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, this was passed unanimously through my subcommittee, and I will let Heather explain.
I believe you have the updated version that has actually been signed by Whitewater already. As I explained at subcommittee, there were some small edits to change some formatting things. There was a problem in one of the appendix that got screwed up when we printed it. So you have the most updated version that I gave to Yvonne, I believe. This is a contract that was worked on between my department, the town manager's office, the town manager, town attorney, and Whitewater to come to joint terms of the contract. The draft contract was included in their RFP package, but there were some notes that they made at the time with some things and questions they had, and we had some discussions to address some of those issues. I do feel it's a good contract. I think that we all know that Whitewater has been a very good partner with the town from the last over 20 years when they've been operating the plant and the distribution system, and they believe they will continue to be a very good partner to the town. They treat this like, many of their employees are town residents, and it is their system, and they treat it as that. They are very protective of it, and I think that bodes very well for the town.
Councilor Jovan.
Thank you. I fully support Whitewater, this contract between the town of Southbridge and Whitewater. My question is through you to the town manager. This agenda item states in the amount of, I understand it's for the 1 year for FY 2022, but we're ratifying a contract that has terms of 5 years. So should this be amended that this contract should be, subject to renewal? I know we did that on the sewer contract. I'm not sure how we proceed. I just don't want to make sure that we're not given the parameters of the contract. It is a 5-year contract, renewable up to 15 more years, so it's a 20-year contract. So because we're ratifying the contract itself, should we have language in there that we're ratifying the 5-year agreement subject to 3 independent renewals for the matter of record?
Mr. Chairman, through you to Councilor Jovan, I don't personally see a problem putting that on the wording and the approval. It would make it clear to anybody in the future that looks back at these minutes to know what the intent was of this body, if it was intending to have a 5-year agreement with the option to have those renewals. So I think it would probably be best to have some clarifying language for anybody who, as I said, may look at this down the road. And then you would take care of a lot of the payments in your annual appropriations during the budgeting season.
Right.
Okay, Councilor Adams.
I don't know if that was a motion made over here to my right by my fellow friend over here, but if it was, then I'll second that one for discussion.
Right. So if I would vote to ratify the contract between the town of Southbridge and Whitewater Incorporated for contract operation of the town's water system for the period of 5 years with the option of 3 independent options of 5-year extensions at the town's request. Is that correct, Mr. Town Manager? At the town's options, with the FY22 amount to be $1,418,158 to be funded by that account.
I'll second it.
Very good. We have an amendment on the floor. Is there any discussion? Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I'm a new council. I'm just trying to understand things. How come didn't go out for bid?
It did go out for bid.
So
It was an RFQ, a request for qualifications bid. So they submit their qualification package. It was a complete bid with what they're required to do, what the qualifications were. They submit the qualifications. Contract was included. In that qualification package, they were allowed to put exceptions or question marks of things that they would want to discuss in the contract. That's why it had to be negotiated. After the RFQ was opened and we ranked the RFQ, which was part of our agreement, which we spoke about at previous councils, then the cost proposal was opened. That's when negotiations started. It went out to bid. Whitewater was the only contractor that bid on it.
Where did you advertise it?
It gets advertised everywhere. It gets advertised in the central registry, it got advertised in the local paper, it got advertised on the town website. It was advertised everywhere.
So the only company bid on it?
They are the only company. There were multiple companies that did pull papers, meaning that they took the request for our proposals out and reviewed them. We had some phone calls on it. We had an open pre-bid walk. We had one other company come to the pre-bid walk so that they come and see the site, but that was it. So there was at least 4 companies are interested, and at the end, only 1 bid on it.
Okay. My question, if we put on the contract extended for another 15 years, so when the 5-year finish and another 5 come to be renewed, is that going to be back open for, or no, because you have it renewed for that company, it's not going to go out public again and be...
It doesn't have to. It's at the option of the council at that time, whether they want to renew or go back out to bid.
So still have to go out for...
It doesn't have to. It's the DPW, the town manager, and the council. If they decide at that time that they're not satisfied with Whitewater at that time, then we could go back out to bid.
Okay, thank you.
And then, but we couldn't keep the same contract. It would null this contract.
But obviously, when they want to renew it, they're going to change, depend on the economy and the prices and all that. Thank you.
So this contract keeps us locked in with a annual increase between 2% and 5%, and it's based on the CPIU. Just to give you a little, I know that Councilor Marchetti asked in the meeting, and I didn't have it. This year, if we had the previous contract, the CPIU went up 3.2%. So it's based on that CPIU. This contract is less than a 1% increase over that 3%.
You know, can I continue, Chair?
Councilor Dow.
Thank you, through you. It's funny because most of the contract for the town is still the same company. It's here, like nobody come forward. Like every contract is same. Like no other company will come in and take the work except the company still already here. Something kind of like funny. I'm not saying anything to do with anybody, but all the contract we have, all the companies here, nobody else come from outside and take the bid or try to come into town. It's kind of like, it's funny, like every contract is the same thing.
Well, Veolia does the same type of work, and they did look at this contract, and I think what it is when they look at, this was already very, very competitive and very, very slim. They knew they probably couldn't beat the number that was already here, and they were going to have to be that much more competitive to be able to do it. So I think they kind of looked at it and said, there's risk. The companies take risk because they're covering the chemical costs and they have to know the operations and they have to know that. They don't want to spread themselves too thin because right now I think we all understand that labor, finding people and qualified people to do jobs right now is very, very hard. And that is very true in the water and wastewater field. There is a big shortage of operators. And so for a company to come in and say that they think they're going to be able to walk in and operate a plant, they have to know that they can do it. So I think the risk wasn't there for what the reward is. It's very small margins on these contracts. They're not making, that's why they like to see it longer periods, 5-year with renewals, because that's where they make the money to know that they're going to have the long-term contract.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Very good. All those in favor?
Point of order, Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
This is all those in favor of the amendment.
I'm sorry. You're right. All right. Any further discussion on the amendment? All those in favor of the amendment? Very good. The amendment is now the main motion. Councilor Jovan.
Mr. Chairman, I respectfully request a roll call vote, given the fact that this is a contract that has a potential 20-year term.
Very good. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, Mary?
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
And Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Unanimous roll call vote. The motion passes. Item number 41, vote to ratify the contract extension for fiscal year 2022 with Reno HVAC and Controls, Inc. for the HVAC system and control maintenance in accordance with the contract documents. Contract extension is effective as of July 1st, 2021 through June 30, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Council Marquetti?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was voted 3-1 to send to council for further action.
Okay, Councilor Catrona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, we had good discussion about this at subcommittee. Just a few things, a few comments, possibly for the town manager to look into. I did realize you were on vacation after that meeting. The possibilities of bringing some of this work in-house, I think is one thing, and oversight of the vendors when they come in. It seems like they come in, they do the work, but where's the oversight for the vendors as well? And the records keeping, we heard from the DPW director, some of the records are kept at the library, some are kept at the DPW. Possibly we could look at combining all these records together, so if we need them, they're in one place, regardless of who wants the records kept. The other comment that I might have, I do see the price tag in here of $29,225. Should that be in the motion that's on the floor? The price of the contract amount of $29,225?
It's actually that was year one that you just read. Year
It was.
two is 30,101. But it is not.
The
yeah,
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The
it's
document that I was reading off of said $29,225.
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
In the, through you to Council Catrona, there is, in the contract itself, there is a 3%.
a 3% increase
I'm
in
trying
the
to
second
find
year.
it.
Okay,
So
I
you
didn't
read
have
the
that.
first year contract. That's the original contract that was in your packet.
Okay.
The second year is the renewal, there's a 3% increase. So I do have a schedule that was provided. I don't know if, actually, I don't think you guys got it, but it comes out to $30,101.
So my question goes back, should that be an amendment made to the original motion to have that number in the contract?
You want to make that?
Councilor Lazo?
If not, I'll make the motion. I mean, if we have.
I just would to comment, you're voting on a document of a renewal of a document. Is the document specific about the 3%?
The document already has the 3%
It is in the
it,
document.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Just a point of clarification again, Mr. Chairman. It
Go ahead.
actually, it dawned on me, it's not in the contract itself, but it was in their proposal. It's highlighted on under background on the cover memorandum from the Assistant DPW Director, Mr. Desjardins. About the third part down, it says in terms of contract price, the 3% escalator. So oftentimes when a proposal is submitted, they'll outline a lot of these things, and then they're incorporated by reference into the contract documents. But I did recall reading that there is a 3% escalator. At first, Councilor Catrona, I thought it was in the contract, but it's in the proposal, but referenced in that memorandum.
Thank you.
All set?
Mr. Chairman?
Councilor
So
Lazo?
is there an attached document of the contract that explains the financing, the money? Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. At the meeting, I heard they don't serve the library this time. They have no record of serving the
They
building.
did service the library. That has been confirmed.
You confirm?
Yes.
Because, I mean, nobody checked on those people.
That has been confirmed.
The police station, the unit went down because I don't think was maintained correctly. I'm not in favor in this company, to be honest with you. I'm going to vote no
The
tonight.
maintenance on that unit wasn't done by the previous company, not this one. We changed companies
When?
last year.
Okay.
They hadn't done a summer service yet when the unit went down. The chiller would have been on their summer service list, not on their winter.
But isn't it at the beginning of the summer, they should check all the unit before they turn it on to make sure
They
they're
didn't have a summer
safe?
service, they had a winter service, and the
Correct.
summer was this spring, so they
Correct.
never conducted one.
I agree with you, but isn't it when the summer begins, they should be checking all these units to make
Yes,
sure
but they
they're
weren't
safe?
in charge of that. At the time, they weren't the company doing the service, so.
And then when they
previous
need
year.
to do any repair, that's an addition
It's an
work,
additional
correct?
Yes.
So I kind of agree with Council Catrona regarding get somebody in-house to do the filters and because they didn't do other and changing filter and look at them, you know.
They
I think
check
anybody can
belts,
do that.
They monitor the belts, they monitor other, they clean the boilers, they are doing other work. We aren't qualified to do boiler cleaning and all of that type of service and change nozzles and things of that nature. We're not. We're not HVAC certified techs, and
But
we're
you-
not.
You don't think you can find somebody certified, you can be full-time and do all these work and
I
stay on
certainly
all
can,
the...
but it will cost the town $100,000. It won't cost 30.
Heather, I hear 100,000 all the time. You never put 99. I'd be happy, but everything 100,000, 100,000, 100,000. That's the only number you know.
It will
Point of order,
cost
Mr. Chairman.
$900,000.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Counselor.
She's trying to answer a question. Could the council allow her to answer the question? And then he can, through you, for a follow-up question. That's the decorum council should have.
Certainly.
No disrespect to my colleague, Councilor Dow, but there is decorum. The department head, town manager, or anybody else should be allowed to answer the question and allow for follow-up if need be. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Certainly. Ms. Blakely.
I would be happy to look into the future what the cost to hire an HVAC certified technician for possibly next year and not renew this contract next year, if that is the way the council would like to go. I do see a benefit in that. I'm not going to say that I don't. I definitely do. But it would mean additional staff, and I understand that. I also have a sense for how much that additional staff person would cost once we hire them at the rates what we would have to pay them, comparable to what is being paid probably on the school side, and what we would have to pay in benefits. My estimated cost for that would be around $100,000. Until I did additional research, I would say that is my estimated cost.
Can I continue, Mr. Chair?
You can ask another question, certainly.
Thank you. I'm going to respond to Council Jovan. You should be look at it at the both way because I was speaking to, she was jumping on me. You can back up the camera and see that. So I don't know why you only see me, you don't see the other side. Thank you.
Councilor Lazo.
This debate could go on all night. From past experience, and I know Councilor Jovian can attest to this, when we were on school committee, the same debate came up. Do you want to pay $30,000 for the service contract? And then do you want to do this service contract? And then we kept getting invoices on the early days where the electrical bills we were getting from the local company was just mounting up. It was way over 100-something thousand for the work in the system, which justified getting an electrician in-house. Then later on, the invoices built up where it was nice to have the HVAC license, and we paid for that. When the output of money goes beyond the salary line, you add a staff member. But as the discussion goes on and you see a benefit package and a salary line is, say, 100,000, 105,000, and your service contract is 30,000, all of a sudden it's not worth having in-house. We used to run our own sewer plant, we used to run our own water supply. When we purchased it, the deal was we ran our sewer with all kind of plans. Sometimes the service contract works for you, sometimes the service contract doesn't work for you. And as you go through the years, that pendulum swings. And councils are going to have to make decisions on what's the most cost effective. Whitewater runs the water company. Do you see that number they're running the water company for? Originally, we purchased it, it used to make $1 million a year profit. We bought it for a little under $4 million. Maybe it's time to start looking at running it in-house as a separate department. But those are the things you're going to have to work on by putting them on the scale of justice and say, is this going to financially be feasible to us to hire a full-time HVAC guy? If the numbers show yes, the story's behind the numbers, guys, you vote yes. $29,000 or $100,000, if that's the estimated cost, I'm voting for the contract. Now, if this gentleman was not the problem in the breakdown that summer of the chiller, then we're talking apples and oranges. This guy should get this contract because he wasn't responsible for that. Thank you.
Councilor Catrona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, Heather, I failed to ask a question at subcommittee. Is the contract price T&M, is it time and materials?
Yes, for repairs, it's time and materials. There's a line item that they had to fill out in the bid document, and I understand you don't have it, so I'll read it. It is, there's an hourly regular labor rate. For this year, it would be $113.30 an hour, and there's an hourly emergency after hours rate of $170 an hour.
Thank you. I also agree with my fellow council. I think if there was a little better oversight, possibly the police department issue would not have come up. I just did look up, just give me a second, I think it's Mass General Law 143. It is. It does not, the state law does not require there should be an HVAC contract license to do belts, filters, change a shiv, a pulley, or punch tubes. You can take a bell off of a chiller. We can have this conversation another time, but the point is it can be done in-house, I believe, at a lesser rate. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Marchetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I don't really understand what the problem and what the current situation is, why there is disagreement over having this company. I don't get it. What is the current situation that would make some councilors want to do this in-house, but really what is the solution? Some people, and I kind of think this way too, that we need somebody in DPW for oversight. And I know that Heather has, the DPW director has mentioned a facilities manager, and it's something that I think we should really consider. Now, the previous town council manager had that on his radar, a facilities manager, and since that time, it's kind of gone by the wayside. So I think that's really the problem. We need somebody overseeing all the operations in this town. And it seems to me that the DPW director just doesn't have the time to do all that. So I think that's really the solution here, just getting a facilities manager. I don't really have a problem hiring this company, but I do think we need somebody to oversee it. And I do think it needs to be in one spot, not different department heads. And I think it was Heather said something about the honor system or something. Honor systems went out a long time ago, so I really think we need somebody to oversee it.
So
that's all. Thank you. Yep.
I want to explain to you, this contract is paid out of, so DPW pays a portion of this contract, the library pays a portion of this contract, the police department pays a portion of this contract, and the fire department pays a portion of this contract. So with that, and I appreciate the fact that, you know, maybe the fire department and the police department and the library aren't the best people, but because they have to pay the money, they also need to see that the work is done. So that is why the receipts have gone to them. And when there is a question regarding, you know, they report something that needs to be repaired, All of those departments know that they're more than welcome to call us and discuss it with us. I am not going to claim to be an HVAC engineer or technician or anything of that matter. But as being the person in this town that has probably more technical knowledge than the librarian, than the fire chief, than the police chief when it comes to building maintenance and repair, and I'm not going to say that's not even, I'm a water and sewer girl. I'm not a building maintenance girl. But I do have the knowledge to say, yes, this is what they're saying. Let's get some quotes and find out what's going on. They all know that they can come do that for me. If you want a facilities manager to take all of those and take that off their plate, it's a totally different discussion. We have asked our department heads here historically to manage their buildings when it came to things of that nature. And I provide technical assistance to them, my department, me, Matt.
Councilor Dow, then Councilor Joanne.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. So tonight, what I hear so far and I understood, you taking work over beyond what you can handle. So the easy way, let's renew the contract and done with it, we'll move on for the next agenda. But this is not the way we want to spend the citizen money. Doesn't matter who paying, the police department, the fire department, the DPW, the library, this is not the way we need to spend those money. Doesn't matter who's paying, at the end, this is the money, the citizens' money. We need to make sure they're getting the best work, the best deal for the community. So if she's saying she's not the expert for these, I think the town manager should look for somebody expert to handle all the contract for maintenance and different issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Jovan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe we should move this question. The question is on a contract renewal. This conversation is going far afield. I respect everybody's opinion about oversight and accountability. That's for another, and I don't think we should delay that conversation because we've had that conversation for at least the last 2 to 3 years that I've been on council. But we have other priorities that end up, these things get to the wayside. So perhaps we put it out there for a discussion on facilities, but we're here to renew a contract, not about whether we need a facilities manager or what, or the like on that. I don't disagree with that, but let's move forward with my item at hand.
I think the council's point is well taken. I've taken some notes down on what was being discussed during this agenda item, and it definitely will be brought again for further discussion. It's obviously an issue that the council feels strongly about, and it's something that we'll look forward to discussing in the future, and I will be in discussions with the town manager about it. At this point, there's no further discussion. All those in favor of the agenda item? Anyone opposed? The vote is 7-2 with Councilors Dow and Catrona against. Agenda item number 42, vote to ratify the Ludlow Construction Company, excuse me, vote to ratify the Ludlow Construction Company negative change order number 4, of which a balance of existing pay items is a reduction of $477,290.58 for the water main extension for Berry Corner Road, H Foot Road, and Eleanor Lane Charlton project.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was voted 4-0 to send it to the council for further action. Thank you.
Okay, do you need to say anything?
Good evening. So this is the negative balancing change order to close out this project for Berry Corner Road. At the end of the project, we balance out the remaining quantities, zeroing them out to being exactly what was used on the contract. Therefore, they didn't use all the quantities on the contract. There was a negative balancing change order. We don't always do these on contracts because we can sometimes, it's not as crucial. But on this one, because it is being funded by 2 joint sources, one being Mass DEP, the second being Casella, it was important that we make sure we knew we had all the paperwork down to the penny at the last dime. So this is the balancing change order. This is the last of this project. Obviously, it was actually relatively successful. We had some issues along the way, but they were addressed, and we came in under budget and successful. That system is up and running. I don't know how many new customers, but somewhere around 70 new customers up in that area.
Very good. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous of all present. Item 43, vote to approve the withdrawal request by Hardline Heat Treating to be removed from the tax increment financing, TIF, and state credits approved for 73 to 81 Ashland Avenue.
So move.
Second.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This conversation started with myself and Eric about our two TIFs that we approved within the town council the past couple of years. It was a robust discussion about if this company can or cannot do it, or the simple letter that we received. Councilor Dyer brought up he would like to see the TIF, which was a point well taken, or Councilor Marchetti, I wasn't sure who it was, but it was a point that one of my mistakes was I didn't follow up to take a look at just not this letter, but the actual TIF itself from Hardline Heating, which was a TIF a couple years ago that the town council approved, taking over and building on 73 through 81 Ashland Avenue. Robert, who owns, I forgot his last name, but Robert, who owns the facility, they gave a great plan to the town council, which I believe voted unanimously on. It looks like at this point in time, with his request to pull the TIF itself, it doesn't look like it's going to hurt anything whatsoever with the town, but it passed unanimously, or recommended 4-0 on our meeting on the 10th of August, but I'll pass, if you don't mind, if I pass it over to Mr. Rumsey or the town manager.
Mr. Rumsey.
Thank you. I know, Councilor Marchetti, you had a question regarding if Hardline had received any benefits of the TIF, and I spoke to the assessor this morning, and he said no, they had not, because they had not done any of the work. So their tax rate has remained the same as it would have been, before the TIF, and as if it never existed. Hardline Heat Treating did purchase the former D&D building on Ashland Avenue, and essentially, as far as I am aware, with discussions with them, what they're doing is the amount of money that they were going to put into 73 Ashland is instead put into that building. So in a lot of ways, I believe this is a benefit to the town, in that the town is collecting more tax money than it would have through this TIF process. So they are still expanding. They're staying here in Southbridge, and they're a good company, I believe, for the town.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make note that some of the work's already being done over there if you go down to Ashland. So they're doing a great job over there. And one thing that Mr. Rumsey did also provide was United Lenses TIF as well to all the counselors, so they could take a look at it. Again, my apologies at the P&D. I should have talked to Mr. Rumsey about providing those for examples, or at least to take a look at and see what we were voting on at that point in time. So, but we do have United Lens, and there are requirements and agreements that we made with the companies, and I just want to make sure that those companies are fulfilling their expectations, and vice versa for the town itself. Thank you.
Councilor Lazo.
Just a quick comment on Hardline Heat Treating Incorporated. It started out as a small little company on Ashland Ave, and now they've grown unbelievably. The money that they're investing in the old D&D building, in the old, the other factory up the street. I mean, they're sprawled out and they stayed in Southbridge. And that says something about that company. To back up what you're saying, it's a company that the town can be good partners with. They're outstanding. Thank you.
There being no further discussion, all those in favor?
Hold on. I do have one question.
I'm sorry. Councilor Marchetti.
I just have a quick question, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So are we receiving reports from United Lens on the TIF?
We are. Actually, I received the latest report from them after your packets were put together, so I can hand these around if you'd like.
Right, okay. The-
Mr. Chairman, am I missing
Councilor Lazo.
something? How does this pertain to this agenda item?
It doesn't.
Then I'd like to vote on or move on the agenda item.
Very good.
And this would be informational.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilor Marquetti.
because both of these tax increments were included in the packet. That's why I asked about it. If they don't want to talk about it, then probably shouldn't have put it in the packet.
The agenda item relates to hardline heat treating only.
That's
at
true,
this
but he
point.
also included United Ends in the packet.
The agenda item is addressed to hardline heat treating. And that's what we need to address.
All right? So did Hardline ever supply any reports?
They have in the past. This year, they did not because they supplied us with the withdrawal request.
All right, thank you.
Councilor
Not
Adams.
to delay this any longer, I'll put this on a plan and development for the United Ends TIF. I'll discuss with Mr. Rumsey. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Jovan.
Thank you. Through you to the rest of the councilors. The information I appreciate from Plan and Development that they included in the packet because that was a request of the subcommittee. Could you just provide us an update? So because it was attached to the information for Hardline does not make it part of the agenda item in my view. We did request that information and I thank the department for providing that information as requested through the subcommittee. Thank you.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor of the item? Unanimous of all present.
Thank you.
Item number 44, vote to accept the fiscal year 22 MVP Municipal Vulnerability Program Planning Grant to complete a community resiliency planning process that will examine the community's vulnerabilities and strengths and identify priority actions to build resilience as the climate changes and authorize the town manager to sign all related grant documents.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This, again, was unanimously voted on in favor of moving forward to the town council, and from there.
Mr. Rumsey.
Certainly. So the MVP grant, the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Planning Grant, is a planning grant in which the town, we applied for this grant and the town does not receive any funds. The funds go directly to a consultant. We were awarded a maximum of $22,000. And so, that money goes straight from the state to a consultant. There's no intermingling with the town. Where the town falls into this is we will set up a committee who will meet with the consultant and we will set up 2 meetings that are, at least 4 hours apiece to discuss climate change initiatives in the town and where the town should be going to prepare for climate change in the future.
Very good. Mr. McCall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to give a little background, I approached Mr. Rumsey about this a couple months ago, I think. During the budget cycle, when we were looking at various capital items, I wrote some emails to the Executive Office of Environmental and Energy, as well as some other departments, about how to defray the costs of electric vehicles and maybe electric police vehicles and fire vehicles going forward, how municipalities could offset these costs, especially a community like Southbridge. And the response that kept coming back was we needed to go through this MVP process. And so this first stage, I did it in a previous community that I worked with. It's the planning stage. And in order for you to get access to up to $2 million of funding where there could be a up to 25% match, you have to go through this first phase. And as Mr. Rumsey pointed out, you would have two separate meetings run by a consultant, which is paid by the state, and you go over issues associated with climate change and try to identify areas where you're vulnerable in your community. And what we wound up looking at one of the other communities was to ensure that we had adequate HVAC for cooling centers, upgrading things, including backup generators, so when power went out. I know you had a tornado here years ago. There's historic floods here. So there may be a lot of things that are unique to Southbridge that we could identify that once we complete that planning process, we would then be eligible to receive funds with some type of match, and they would be identified during this planning process. But we could go back and get additional monies from the state to help us. You know, we've had these unusual rainstorms, and I know there was some questions about the dam. I saw some emails that counselors were getting concerned about water levels and things like that. So we might identify that we have a need to do maintenance somewhere along the line. So I think this planning process, the money, as was indicated, goes to the consultant. It takes some staff time to sit down and do some team building exercises to identify potential areas of concern where we're vulnerable to the effects of climate change and extreme weather. And then from that, once we complete that, we would be eligible for these action grants. So depending upon what we identify, we could then go back and try and get some of these monies to help us offset the impact that we're seeing from some of the changes in the environment and the weather. And you know, again, Mr. Rumsey, he's done the yeoman's work of doing the application. We sat down and talked about it, and he has been the one submitting the paperwork after we discussed it. So, thank you.
Any discussion? Very good. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Unanimous of all present.
Thank you very much.
Vote to approve item number 45. Vote to approve the proposed Green Communities projects to spend down the remaining $18,585.10 before September 30, 2021, and authorize the town manager to sign any related paperwork to complete the work through Energy Conservation, Inc.
So moved. Second.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, unanimous of all present on the 10th of August in favor of. Thank you.
Ms. Dean? Would you like to address this item?
It's up to the council. Do you have any specific questions? Do you want me to do a quick
Councilor
summary?
Jovan.
Thank you. No, I think you pretty much filled us in on this grant, but I'd just like to thank you for the follow-up on the question about the middle school, high school light-in, and how that was addressed, and that money we're just using a different account, and that's all. I have no other questions. I'm glad we're looking at the Edwards block for lighting improvements, and look forward to that project being done in a timely manner.
Very
I have
good.
no other questions.
Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous of all present. Item number 46, vote to approve the hiring of BSC Group Incorporated Licensed Site Professionals, LSP, using account number 82790 Quinnebog Rail Trail Project Funds for up to $8,900 to consult with the town to advance rail trail development and help position the town for grant funding, and authorize the town manager to sign any related paperwork to engage BSC Group Services.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you again, it was 4-0 vote in favor of, unanimous all present, and I'll pass it on to Ms. Dean, the town manager, if there's any questions.
Very good. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 47, vote to approve the timely expenditure waiver to apply for the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, Mini Entitlement, ME, for fiscal year 2021, request for a proposal, RFP, to the Development of Housing and Community Development, DHCD, and authorize the town manager to sign any related paperwork.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a little back history. It was unanimous 4-0. on this motion. You probably saw this back in June a little bit about the Parkland grant that we approved to move forward on the application process. One thing, and I want to thank the team downstairs and the town manager and all those that helped Peg putting this together, was the fact that I believe, and Ms. Dean, if you correct me if I'm wrong, but these two parks the deeds weren't clear enough to identify them as belonging as parks. And so this is where we have the referendum that's in this motion, within this package itself. And that referendum will just basically make it into, for us to be able to move forward with the grant application, because that's what I think DHCD requested it as well. If I'm wrong, please fix me.
May I ask for clarification? Are we on a different agenda
Yeah, you're
item?
talking about the
Yeah,
next
you're
one.
thinking of 47.
You jumped ahead.
Yeah, we're on
This is
47.
So I think we're.
CDBG.
so
Oh,
basically-
holy cow, well, take note to number 48, I'm sorry. So I crossed out the wrong one, here I go again. But take note to number 48, no questions at that point in time, but number 47, 40, I'm going to shut my mouth now and let Ms. Dean answer anything.
The timely expenditure waiver is a very simple technical motion, which would speak to why I was surprised about Councilor Adams' comments. We had to do this last year, unfortunately. I think we will actually meet the expenditures by the time I submit the grant, but I just want to ensure that I'm covered. So I'm asking you to please approve this expenditure waiver should it be needed. This is for our CDBG fiscal year 21 grant for $825,000. I don't like to leave a lot of room for error.
Council Jovan.
Thank you. I certainly support this. I just want to thank the department and the town manager for their timely, proactive approach to these grants and getting these things to the council. It's quite the refreshing change, so that we're on top of these grants. So in this case, it's not a last minute. It's an anticipation that we may not even need it. So I thank that for the proactive, detailed memos that we get from the department, and the oversight. We talk about oversight, and we know the issues that were inherited by this department on one project, and the ability to seek other grants and manage these grants is commendable to the department and the town manager. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Anything further? Council Marquetti.
Thank you. So to get this straight, we've only spent down 55% of this, and you want to make sure we spend at least 70%? Is that what it is? Thank you.
Through you, Chair. Yes, it's a requirement each year within the grant guidance, and then they have these supplemental one-year plans that we have to follow. Very technical, specific to the grants, and most towns that, similar to us, that might be a mini entitlement, there are 11 of us in the state, are managing multiple grants at the same time. So we're just, we just closed fiscal year 18 in December and are still administratively closing it. 19 we're in the heat of, and so they asked that this be spent down by 70%. Last year, you had to have spent for the 20, you would have had to have spent 18 down by 80%. So it's all just technical details. They expect you to be so far along before you're securing future funds. We are actually at 61% right now, and we'll, again, this is the Main Street Lynch project, so I haven't gotten our July or August, and so I'm anticipating those will actually cover that extra 9% that I need to spend down.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Councilor Lazo.
Just a quick comment. I know we go through many meetings, many votes on grants and stuff, and I do remember back in the day when, we didn't have a department that really was that energetic about the grants. I'm talking long before this manager. But I too agree with Councilor Jovan. This town manager, Peg Dean, we had a little shakeup in our department. I think, being aggressive and being on all corners of these grants and stuff and knowing where they are, how to get them, and to work on them the way you do, I commend you. And I also would like to commend you for straightening out Councilor Adams. Not too many department heads do that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else? There being no further discussion, all those in favor of the item? Anyone opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 48, Vote to adopt the resolution drafted by Town Attorney Greg Corbo of KP Law, dedicating the land for recreational purposes, appropriating 100% of the funds, and authorizing the town manager and CDBG coordinator to file the Parkland Acquisitions and Renovations for Communities Park Grant, which Town Council approved the application of this park grant at its meeting on June 7th, 2021, agenda item number 26.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Adams.
Just rewind the tape. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think what I said earlier still at this point stands, but again, 4-0 unanimous. I appreciate all the councilors watching me for like 5 minutes talk and not say a word, but thank you. But that's all I have at this point.
Okay. It's my understanding I have to read this resolution, word for word.
Sorry.
Okay.
Oh, I do want to make mention that Ms. Dean did reach out, and our legal counsel said, yes, you should read it out, just to make sure it is read in an open forum, and nobody has any questions at that point in time.
Very good. Okay. A resolution to dedicate land to recreation purposes, to appropriate funds, and to authorize an application for park grant funding for improvements to Capillo Park and McCann Fields. Whereas Capillo Park and McCann Fields are community-wide assets, and the preservation and improvements to these facilities are a priority, as evidenced in the most recent Open Space and Recreation Plan, and whereas Capillo Park and McCann Fields is dedicated to park and recreation purposes under Mass General Law, Chapter 45, Section 14, and whereas Capillo Park and McCann Fields renovations, guided in principle by the master plan, will greatly enhance this facility with the permanent skate park, new handball court, ADA path systems, etc., to promote the health and wellness of Southbridge residents and surrounding communities, promoting outdoor recreation opportunities to suit a wide range of ages and interests, and whereas the renovations will be implemented over time in a series of phases by priority as fiscal resources become available, with the intention of securing grant funding when and if available to assist in this effort. And whereas, to defray the cost of the preservation and rehabilitation of Capillo Park and McCann Fields, the town applied to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for a grant under the Parklands Acquisitions and Renovations for Communities Park Program. And whereas, as a condition of said grant, the town wishes to reaffirm the dedication of Capillo Park and McCann Fields for park and active and passive recreation purposes in perpetuity, and to transfer custody thereof to the Recreation Committee for said purposes. And whereas the Town Council serves as the legislative body for the town of Southbridge, and whereas the best interest of the town would be served by dedicating Capillo Park and McCann Fields for said purposes, transferring the custody thereof and appropriating funds for said project. Now therefore be it ordered by the Town Council of the town of Southbridge that A, the care, custody, and control of the property known as Capillo Park, consisting of the parcels of land on Page Hill Road, shown on Assessors Map 30 as Parcel 22 inclusive, and containing 4.7 acres more or less, is transferred from the board or officer currently having custody thereof for the purposes for which it is currently held to the Recreation Committee for park and active and passive recreational purposes, and to dedicate said park in perpetuity to said purposes under the provisions of General Law 45, Section 14, and other Massachusetts statutes related to recreation. B, the care, custody, and control of the property known as McCann Fields, consisting of the parcels of land on Worcester Street, shown on Assessors Map 30 as Parcel 58, inclusive, and containing 11.5 acres, more or less, is transferred from the board or officer currently having custody thereof for the purposes for which it is currently held to the Recreation Committee for park and active and passive recreational purposes, and to dedicate said park in perpetuity to said purposes under the provisions of General Law, Chapter 45, Section 14, and other Massachusetts statutes related to recreation. Councilor Ryan, would you like to continue?
Through you, Mr. Chair. The care, custody, and control of the property known as McCann Fields, consisting of the parcels of land on Snow Street, shown on Assessor's Map 30 as Parcel 72, inclusive, and containing 2.8 acres, more or less, is transferred from the board or officer currently having custody thereof for the purposes for which it is currently held to the Recreation Committee for park and active and passive recreational purposes, and to dedicate said park in perpetuity to said purposes under provisions of GL subsection 45, subsection 14, and other Massachusetts statutes related to recreation. D, the care, custody, and control of the property known as McCann Fields, consisting of the parcels of land on Snow Street shown on Assessor's Map 30 as parcel 71 inclusive and containing 3.6 acres more or less, is transferred to the board or officer currently having custody thereof for the purposes for which it is currently held to the Recreation Committee for park and active and passive recreational purposes, and to dedicate said park in perpetuity to said purposes under provisions of General Law, Chapter 45, subsection 14, and other Massachusetts statutes related to recreation. E, appropriate the sum of $569,800 for the cost of preserving, renovating, and rehabilitating Capillo Park and McCann Fields, and any cost related or incidental thereto, and the treasurer, with the approval of the town manager, is authorized to borrow said sum under General Law, Chapter 44, Section 7, subsection 8C and 12A, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town, therefore, and any premium received by the town upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the costs of issuance of such bonds or notes may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance to General Law, Chapter 44, subsection 20, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount, provided, however, that no fund shall be expended until the town has received the grant commitment in the amount of $400,000 under the Park Grant Program, 300 CMR 5.00. And final paragraph. Authorize the town manager and or the CBDG grant coordinator or their designee to apply for and accept on behalf of the town funds granted under the Parkland Acquisition and Renovations for Communities Park Grant and or any other funds, gifts, grants under any federal and or other state program in any way connected with the scope of this article, and enter into all agreements and execute any and all instruments as may be necessary or convenient to effectuate the foregoing project, that this resolution shall take effect upon passage.
Thank you. Any discussion? Councilor Dyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I think Councilor Steve first, Chair Daniel, if you want to, please first.
Okay, thanks.
Councilor Steves.
Yeah, the one thing that really jumped out at me is the fact that this is through you to the manager. Could you clarify, do we actually have an active recreation committee? I do not believe we do. I was talking to the new recreation director just yesterday, and he was talking about wanting to recreate the committee. I don't know if we have a sitting committee.
I'm going to defer to Ms. Dean, who has her hand up, so I think she has probably a better answer than I do, Councilor Steve.
Speaking with the Recreation Director, this is an opportunity for us to resurrect the Recreation Committee, as it states in your, the Code of Bylaws. You currently have an advisory committee, I understand, but that is not by Code of Bylaws. And so this would sort of, this would realign you with your charter. The Recreation Director sees this as a good opportunity to be able to get out there and recruit with the new sort of instilled powers that are being outlined in the resolution, sort of reinvigorate the opportunity. And so one of his questions actually was, how old can someone be to be on a recreation committee? And so he's really thinking very creatively about how to approach this and how to bring in staff for it. We look forward to seeing it develop.
Can I follow up?
Please.
Okay, because I think it's a great idea, and I called up the bylaw section. It's section 3-215 is the Recreation Committee specifically. It says there shall be 5 members appointed by the manager, confirmed by the council for 3 years. And that's fine. It doesn't specifically, I know when I was talking to Mike yesterday, actually, the recreation director, for those of you who haven't met him yet, he was talking about the idea of trying to get young people involved who may or may not be technically 18 or above. And the bylaw does not say anything about age. So I don't see any reason why at least one of them couldn't sit on the recreation committee. I don't know if there's anything legal statewide or whatever that prevents something like that from happening. I know we occasionally have, or in the past, the school committee has had a student representative that was advisory. I don't know if a recreation committee member could be legally there or not. And then again, also, I will also raise the question of recreation committee versus recreation commission. Our bylaws call it a committee, and there is technically a legal distinction between the two. Commissions can actually get money, whereas I don't believe committees can. So we might want to consider that too. That I guess would be probably a charter change. Maybe throw that to the charter committee. It just occurred to me at the time, so that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Ryan.
Thank you. I just, specific to the student representative, that's state law. That's a specific section of state law that allows for a student representative on the school committee in purely advisory form. In any other role, you have to be a registered voter in order to be on an elected appointed board for our municipality. And since we don't allow anyone to be under the age of 18 to vote in Southbridge, they wouldn't be able to. You would have to be 18 or older and a registered voter to serve on. That would be my natural inclination for that.
Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I don't have nothing on the agenda, but because we are talking about the same park, I want to say thank you to the town manager and Heather. They did the volleyball park. A lot of citizens is playing there, enjoying it. Took the sand out, the grass, to put the sand. They keep the field very clean, and a lot of young guys and girls enjoying playing volleyball there. Is anybody from the citizen like to go there, check it out, and play? Feel free. Thank you.
Very good. Anyone else?
Mr. Chair.
I saw Councilor Marquetti first.
Oh, all right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what are we voting on tonight? Are we voting on just this resolution? We're not voting on spending any money. We're not voting on providing 100% commitment or money of $400,000 to work on the parks. We're simply, because I'm reading this, it says town council vote isn't sufficient. Please vote on the draft language. So we're just voting on this language. How does this work? Thank you.
If I may, Chair, through you, you are authorizing for the treasurer to go out for bonding, comparable to, I guess in my last town, we did that in advance of going for broadband, our own town broadband, years in advance, right? We gave the authorization, but you don't actually go for the money until you're ready. This is all contingent on being awarded the grant, and so you are voting on the dedicating the land for recreational purposes, the 100% appropriation of the funds, authorizing the treasurer to go out for that bonding when the time comes, and then you're also allowing for us to file the application. Contingent, again, on the town being awarded the funds.
Thank you.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know if just a little bit of history with the council. A few years ago, the committee or commission in that bylaw was missing. It actually was not even there. I think it was the council. We found it when we were reviewing a few things because of some issues at the recreation department down there over at the armory. And when we took a look at the bylaws itself, they had set up some type of advisory, but that wasn't our bylaws at all. And I don't know what transpired that make that happen, but we fixed all that as a council to actually make sure that we had a recreation committee put together by the bylaw that had been approved years ago. Somehow or another, it actually, if you pulled it open, it wasn't even there anymore. It actually was deleted. So we got that fixed a few years ago. I would say in 2019 we fixed that. So thank you.
Councilor Catrona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, as I just read through this quickly, possibly to the town manager, is this authorizing the the Recreation Committee to appropriate the funds, or does this still come through council? I'm looking at where it says, whereas the town council serves as legislative body of the town in the best interest of the town would be served by dedicating Capillo Park and McMahon Fields for said purposes, transferring the custody thereof, appropriating funds for said project.
So maybe it could have been worded better, but I think you're transferring from the board officer currently, which is held to the Recreation Committee for Park and Active Possession purposes. And there's that comma, and then, and to dedicate the park purpose. Did I jump ahead? So I think what you're doing is you're transferring the custody and control to the committee, but I don't think that you lose as the legislative body any, you're the appropriating authority here. I don't see, and I've worked with Attorney Corbo enough in the short time that he's been involved with several things here that he would do anything to jeopardize or cause a problem for the town. You know, I'm getting your question now. I don't think there's a problem. We're on the right sentence, right?
Okay, yes, I believe so, yes. No, that's okay. I think you answered the question.
Very good.
If I can continue, Mr. Chair?
Certainly.
Back on June 7th, I wasn't in favor of the skate park and the handball court. I am in favor of a grant, but I think it's my opinion, as I stated then, that there's better uses for the grant than a handball court and a skate park, and I stand by that statement. I will not be supporting this again this evening, as I did not on June 7th. Thank you.
Councilor Marchetti, then Councilor Lazo.
Oh, that's all right. I'm all set. Thank you.
Councilor Lazo.
Is it fair to say that we're approving the whole process before we get the money, or in other words, we're going to put out for a grant, we set forward showing whoever that we're dedicating the land, we're doing the process, we're approving it all upon acceptance of the grant. Correct, right? Okay. I'm in favor of this. I support it. I support recreation. Toughest thing about recreation, what is a recreational priority? What you've done here is opened up a tract of land, you showed a dedicated area, and what you're going to do within that dedicated area. It might change, it might get tweaked, but I understand what Councilor Catrone is saying. He has other priorities, a rail trail, all this other stuff, which I have no problem with. This is an isolated recreation area that might satisfy certain people's likings. Volleyball, or handball, or tennis. We've dedicated these things across town. Everybody has a different like. I'm a pop on a football guy. I want to turf McMahon Field. It's not going to happen, okay? Because you have to get these things in that everybody gets a piece of the recreational dream. I hear a dog park, great idea. I'm looking at this as a good proposal for that area, especially with the fire station, everything that's going on down that end of town. I urge the council to vote yes, even if you don't like handball. Thank you.
Councilor Dyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I will support this for the kids' safety. The trail, it's not in yet. We're working on it. It's going to be coming soon. Hopefully, the state to fund. But right now, we have a skateboard. The kids play on it, wood, rotten, hole in it. A lot of kids play down there, they're going to get hurt. So that's one of the main reasons I'm supporting this tonight, not against you, just because I want to make sure the kids playing there, they get the right skateboard to play on it safe. Because if you go down there, did you ever went down there? Did you go down there recently? Did you see the plywood rotten? You see some of them broke, some of them have all this, they need to be safe. So we can't ignore safety of our kid to create something new. If we don't maintain what we have first, as well don't do the new one, because you're not going to be able to maintain it too. So I support the trail with you as well, but meantime, we apply the $400,000 for this specific park and the area for the kids to maintain what we have already and make sure the kids are safe. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Very well. All those in favor? All those against? The vote was 7-2 with Councilors Marchetti and Catrona against. Motion passes. Thank you. With the indulgence of the committee, I'd like now to have Council's forum. I have a hard time counting to 50, and I missed it when I approved the agenda. Okay, so we'll start over here.
I got a question before we continue. I know, if I can.
Certainly.
Thank you, through you. We didn't make the school community meeting, but Mr. Tomati didn't show up, but what happened to Mr. Jeremy Lopez? He didn't get appointed and he's gonna, I don't know how that works. I just ask, you know, he's here to fill a vacancy, and because Mr. Tomati didn't show up, now we ignoring the application of Mr. Lopez.
No,
So I'm not sure how that works. I just wanna, you know, understand it before we continue, if you don't mind. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
The Roberts rules and the rules of quorum state that both the Southbridge School Committee and the Southbridge Town Council had to be here in quorum, and the Southbridge School Committee failed to meet quorum, so the meeting had to be adjourned. Therefore, there were no appointments made at all. No one was appointed. There was no action, no business taken at all. It'll be done again at a future date and time.
So if somebody again didn't show up, so Mr. Lopez is never gonna be a future member of the vacant board. So how you move forward if, again, we have another meeting, and is not a full board member? Isn't it the council should be able to take action and be able to appoint somebody who will fill up the list of position and continue the school community meeting? I mean,
I understand what you're saying, but we have to follow the process as well. We can't violate the process.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Council's forum. We'll start on this side and work our way around. Councilor Jovan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. First, to echo what Councilor Dow said about the school committee and filling those positions. It's regrettable that the school committee could not have a quorum here this evening, and I think that speaks to the bigger, larger issue as we've talked about. If we're gonna move this district and this town out of receivership, we need a fully functional school committee to be able to work with the state to develop the plans for the exit plan. So Mr. Messier seemed like a very qualified individual. I'm happy that he put his name forward, given the limited role on that. So I guess I would ask you, Mr. Chairman, to perhaps follow up with the chair of the school committee as to whether, in fact, they have 3 openings or 2 openings, because I heard this evening that they only had 4 members. However, it's my understanding through the town clerk's office that there's only 2 openings. So if there's another member that has resigned so that they can recruit some individuals to participate, we need to clarify that and perhaps get some individuals there. I would hope that we would keep that on a short and have this meeting on the 30th to make sure that the school committee has a complete quorum so that we can proceed with that appointment. Boards and commissions, we have a lot of boards and commissions to the public. You hear a lot and you read a lot on Facebook and through social media about what individuals and citizens perceive as issues in town. There's a lot of opportunities for people to participate in the government here in town, and a lot of programs. So I thank all those individuals that came before that we reappointed this evening. However, there's a lot of boards and commissions like we talked about, liquor boards, Board of Health, important commissions that need members and need your assistance. So if you do have those concerns, please, citizens, come out to put your name in and participate in the government. The latest census shows that we have 17,740 residents in the town of Southbridge, according to the 2020 census. Out of 17,000 people, we see, and thankfully, a small group of individuals that continue to participate in the government of Southbridge. With 17,000 plus people, there should be a lot of individuals that, if they wish to participate in our government and make changes and see improvements, the continued improvements that we as a council and other committees and boards have put forward, put your name in and come and join us. That's how you fix your community. That's how you progress. So we welcome and look forward to perhaps recruiting some of those individuals. Also, again, I'd like to echo the thoughts about the grants that we voted on this evening, and kudos to everyone participating. I say over the last 3 years, this town council has worked with the boards to get a substantial number of grants and all those improvements in the town, and I look forward to a lot of these projects getting to completion, so we start seeing that development, especially Main Street and the conditions. But thank you. I'd like to thank the town manager and all the departments for that. When we talk about grants, I'd like to congratulate the fire department for their receiving the Assistance of Fire Department grants in the amount of $212,100, which is a training grant for them to provide training to the fire department members in safety operations of equipment. That's a great grant that they got. The match to the town is roughly only $10,000. So again, thank you to the council for supporting those grants. As we see, for short money on the town side, we get a lot of money. We always talk about, as a council, hey, can we afford it? We know we have money in stabilization. These type of opportunities, we put a chance out there to recoup large sums of money. And that, I believe that training grant, based on the presentation by the fire department, is going to actually save us money in the long run because of the training for safety and insurance premiums. So with that, thank you to all, and that's all I have this evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Again, I just want to say thank you for Heather again and DPW team to respond right away and did the field. Thank you very much, town manager as well. That's all. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Councilor Lazo.
I'm going to keep it short. It's been a long night. I'd just like to commend you as chairman, the new chairman, for doing 50 agenda items tonight. And I'm looking at the clock, and I know that Mr. Jovan and I used to always watch the clock to see if we could move the meeting along, and I think you did a fine job. John, proud to have you there. Thank you.
Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Chairman, if I could, I was going to say something, but I knew Council Lazo would give me a hard time about my inability to complete 50 items before midnight. So thank you for Council Lazo for bringing that up.
Councilor Ryan.
Nothing this evening, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Steves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a few things. One thing I'd like to mention is that Hang 5 was on the Common during the concerts on the Common on Sunday. It was a good show, lots of songs that I hadn't heard in years, and some good surf versions of some unexpected tunes. Island Castaways is playing this coming Sunday. The Black and White Band is playing on the 29th. And all shows are from 6 to 8 p.m. over on the Common. I wanted to kind of reiterate a little bit of what Councilor Jovan mentioned. Earlier, we reappointed a conservation commissioner, but another one also stepped off this year. And at that point, that means that that particular board specifically needs 3 people. It's a 7-member board. It needs 3 people now. If you have any interest in conservation specifically, please put your name into the town manager and get involved. We really need some people, not just on that board, but on several other boards as well. But that one's kind of in dire need. It's a quasi-judicial. It has some serious authority. It has some serious issues that come forward to it from time to time. I mean, our development is a little slow at the moment, but there's projects that come forward that really need some serious people to take a look at them and think about them. And if we're losing people, that doesn't bode well for the commission. So if you're interested, please put your name in. And in a related subject, I remember maybe back in June, we briefly talked about the Mullen Rule. And with a situation like what's going on with conservation, and maybe on other boards, I'm not sure where some of them stand, we might want to really think about reconsidering that particular issue and bring it back to the council, and whether or not we want to actually do that. I know that being sick, I haven't had much time to contact other towns about where they stand on Mullen Rule, and I remember saying that I would do that at GenGov, so I still will. But it's something that I think the Concom issue really highlights that need. Regarding the potential risk for COVID, we might want to consider as a council whether or not we want to be restarting remote meetings, maybe as an option for members and the public, especially given what the manager, or I think the manager mentioned at the beginning of the meeting about the state talking about wanting to have masks for people in public settings and things like that, and whether that's going to happen or not. So I don't know if we want to consider going back to remote for at least possibilities, anyway. And one more thing is that, I guess this is through you to Heather. I know we had some communication regarding trees. I know up in the Lebanon Hill area, and I know that Matt went up there to take a look at some because literally Maureen and I nearly got hit by a tree that came down in the middle of the street. And if we didn't, the driver behind us might have been. If it had come down like 10 seconds later, it would have hit one of us. And I was wondering where things stood about those, not only those trees, but other trees around town that have been issues. I know you guys have looked at several of them over recent past, and I just kind of wondered where that stood.
So just to give you an update on the trees on Lebanon Hill, I know Matt looked at them on Friday. Matt and I, myself, looked at them today. There are multiple trees, actually arrows in the road because there's lots of poison ivy, and if you don't know, I had a very bad bout of it and it's still on prednisone. So I tried to stay away from that if I can. So multiple trees up there have been marked out for trimming or removal. I don't even remember the count. It's like 5 or 6 up in that area. So we will be getting quotes on that. Those trees are way larger than any trees that we would be able to take down in-house. We do take lots of trees down and do trimming in-house when we can, but these are very large trees up there. Some of them very, very dead. So yes, there's also trees on Tipton Rock Road that I know were marked out today for removal that we'll be getting quotes on. And got to look back over on North Woodstock and see if all of those trees had gotten removed last year or not. So, but we receive calls almost on a daily basis regarding dead trees. So I do seem to ride around with my head looking up a lot at trees. So if you do notice them, please contact my office. We will go out and determine if they're on our property or if they're on a neighbor's, on abutting properties. There are lots of dead trees in the abutting properties over there. We don't have as much luck there and really can't remove those trees. We can send some letters to let people know, but we will be addressing the trees on our street. It's going to take a couple weeks just to get the quotes. We usually try to get at least 3, and then we'll award, we'll, based on the quotes, we'll do a PO and award that.
Can we legally cut privately owned trees that are hanging over the street?
We can trim them, but we can't cut them.
I mean, in the sense of like being able to cut off the limbs that are hanging over, that might be dead and hanging over
Correct.
the street? We can do that, okay.
And we actually usually give notice to the owners first because not everybody likes it when you come and trim their trees without them knowing it. So.
Well, I understand that totally. Okay, thanks.
How's that?
Thank
Great.
you.
Councilor Catrona.
Nothing this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the town manager. I did want to make a comment about our DPW subcommittee meeting last week. The DPW director did say that she was considering taking some of the micro-surfacing part of the road improvement project out of the contract and doing more crack sealing. And I just wanted to mention that the town council did vote to fund road improvement in this town in the amount of $10 million. And I don't think that's just for crack sealing. So it's my humble opinion that we should stick with the plan that we have right now to do surfacing on the roads. There are a lot of roads in towns that are beyond crack sealing. There are many residents who have contacted me and tell me that the roads that they live in are down to their original asphalt, and they don't feel that crack sealing is sufficient to fix those roads. These roads need mill and overlay, micro-surfacing. If you take a ride up Litchfield Avenue or down Marjorie Lane, you'll see roads that need resurfacing, not crack sealing. I noticed that one of the roads that are on the list this year is Page Hill Road. We've already paved Page Hill twice now, and now it's scheduled to be paved once again from where they stopped down to Central Street. There's other towns and roads. There's other roads, there's other roads in town and that haven't been paid in decades. So At my next DPW meeting, I hope to put on the agenda a vote to reconfirm the council's commitment to do the roads. That's what we voted on to fund. I hope the other councilors agree with me. The residents want their roads fixed, so let's fix them right and not start penny pinching this project. Now, I also mentioned to the council chair about perhaps we should be going back to a hybrid town council meeting with remote participation. I have no problem masking up. I bring my mask. But there are some who would rather not be here in person because, you know, there are a lot of, because of the town manager mentioning the Delta variant and children cannot be vaccinated. So that is a potential risk, and I understand that. I think the council is set up for remote. I think the veterans room could easily be set up, but we have a large screen TV back there that could be put in there. I mean, there's a whiteboard in there. I don't think anybody uses whiteboards anymore. Could be set up. I believe it's right underneath the cable office. They could just run a line up through the ceiling, and we could have remote in the veterans room. So I think it's a good idea, and I don't think it's that complicated. If it is, so be it. I do think we should consider going back to remote, at least a hybrid remote participation. And finally, I have scheduled our first capital improvement planning committee meeting for this Wednesday, August 18th at 6:30 p.m. in the veterans room. Councilor Lazo and Dow, you are members of that committee, so I would appreciate it if you would attend that meeting. Of course, all councilors are welcome to attend. I've written a paper out on what I think our charge will be, but please feel free as a committee to make suggestions to change the charge if you want to. We're going to discuss the capital plan over the course of the next couple of months, I believe, and discuss ways of reformatting it. I wouldn't call this a think tank, but we may want to brainstorm ways to improve capital planning. So I'd appreciate it if the town manager could also attend, because I'm interested in hearing what your suggestions are. You've worked with capital planning committees in the past, and so I would think it would be very valuable if you could attend. And at some point, if you want to invite the treasurer, that would be welcomed as well. So it's Wednesday, August 18th, 6:30 p.m. in the veterans room. I'm going to bring my budget binder if you want to bring yours, because it has the capital plans in the back and we can take a look at it. We'll just start off easy, slow, and go from there. All right? Thank you. That's all I have.
Mr. McCall.
Just wanted to add, I haven't had the chance, I got your email about the paving. We'll take some time and talk with the DPW director about that. But with regard to the capital planning, if you recall, during the budget process, there was a question about the form and the format of the capital plan. And so when Chairman Daniel assumed the chairmanship and we were talking about things that we could look at, I raised the issue that Councilor Marchetti had commented on the format not being consistent with the charter at the time. It was what I inherited, so I thought it'd be prudent that we get together and look at the form and how best to address capital planning. I did come from a community where I was a select board member as well as an administrative official, where we utilized a particular format in a capital planning committee that comprised itself of some citizen members, some elected officials, some department heads, so that it was more of you got more input along the way in the process. But really, I guess the genesis of this was the comment you made. I wanted to make sure that we're doing the right thing and in the right format. So I just wonder, that's what that all came about. We aren't starting the actual committee. We're looking at how, or at least the charge that I understand is they're looking at how best to format this going forward.
Okay. Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of items here. I just want to answer, not answer, but just reassure the council. I do know the town manager has set up multiple meetings about the COVID variant and the issues that we may be facing in the near future, and it's not gone unnoticed. And I know the town manager's got it well in hand, working with the Board of Health as well. So I do want to let everybody else know that we are having a few meetings he sets it up for every couple weeks to see where we're at, what the hospital looks like, the stats and all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to reassure the council on that. As information flows, I'm sure that everybody will pass that information along. The RMG, I just wanted to let you know that the health fair that they had planned, I think a couple months ago, is back on for this Saturday, August 21st from 11 to 2 p.m. It's for health and wellness. And so there's quite a few activities that they have on their flyer, and I posted on my social media page today. This Saturday we had some family members come over, and I have my wife's cousin, I think second cousin. She came up, who was born and raised here in Southbridge, but no longer lives here, lives in Connecticut, and she was very impressed with Main Street and the work that had been done at the Central Street Plaza, and then all the Main Street itself, even though we still have the bumps and bruises still going on. But she was impressed. She called it the 100-year road. And she goes, I've never seen, and when I told her about the ties that were down there, she goes, no, I believe it, because my whole family's talked about that and how it's just buried and a lot of the work. So, somebody from outside looking in was able to see the progress being made in our town, just in that small area, but she's very proud to see how Southbridge is turning the tide. Boards and committees, I do know Ms. Torres does provide me, once in a while I ask her for the boards and committees updates, and I post them on social media. She also posts them on the town website, but I will email her tomorrow and kind of see where she's at right now. I'm sure she's got her hands full with filling all the slots and taking some slots out, so it may be a few weeks before she can get to it, but I'll request it from her. She's really good about responding on that one as well. I want to thank the town manager. I was listening to him tonight, just talking about some of our volunteers, and I wrote it down right now, was the fact that he took the time. He doesn't have always the time to sit down and have a conversation in his office with a volunteer or just all of us. Sometimes he's so busy. I appreciate the time that he does take to make a phone call to some of these individuals that are volunteering to make sure that they're a good fit. He's got a good feel for them, and the fact that somebody from the town offices cares and appreciates what they're willing to sacrifice for our community. I did want to let everybody know, speaking of Page Hill and Clementsville, $1 million in paving is planned to start Monday, the 23rd of August as well. And I think the last thing I had was to the chair. I know we discussed working on the goals and objectives for fiscal year 22 very soon. I didn't know if you wanted to announce or you changed, there's a plan change, but about the asking for volunteers from the council about the goals and objectives of FY22.
We'll be examining goals and objectives on the agenda of the special meeting scheduled for the 23rd, and the council will be solicited at that point for the members.
Okay, roger that.
Yep.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. And agenda item number 49, discussion. The next meeting is August 30th at 7 p.m.
Very good. Item number 50, vote to enter into executive session pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss litigation strategy in the case of Solinsky versus Town. If discussing the matter in open session will have a detrimental effect on the town's litigating position, if the chair so declares, and vote to adjourn from executive session. The chair does declare that to be so.
So moved.
Very good. Roll call vote.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
And Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
9-0. We will be adjourning from executive session.